streets ain't talking about you, man. If I can't spin a block and find out about you, man, the people ain't about you, man. That's just what it is, you know?
But I got to
talk about it in the streets, man.
Yeah, this one's for the streets first. Stripes like a referee shirt. This one's for the streets first. Tell mama this the rebirth. Say I need church, I talk dirty. Put my hands and my feet work. Teamwork, put in pain, but gotta bring it to the streets first. So.
It's your boy Butta, and I'm back with another episode of that Streets First podcast. You already know how your boy do. I goes out and I brings them out. As you can see, I got my guy here. You heard? Green Light Ventures. Amjed.
Yes, sir.
Osman, what's up, baby?
Butta, what's good?
What's good with
Appreciate
you, man?
you having me, man. Thank you.
I'm grateful to bring
I'm glad
someone
to be
like
here
you
in
in
your
here.
stomping grounds. Are
You came out
you
for your boy,
me.
man.
Of course, man. Of course.
You know me, man. I normally start my conversation off with, this is all about empowerment. I want people to be able to see and hear other people's stories and realize that, you know, if you can see how to find out who you are and what your gifts are, that there's a lot that can start to happen for you. There's some doors that can start to open for you. So if you don't mind me starting off, you know, can I get a little bit of your history? Like, I kind of like know a little bit of it, but can you let them know how you grew up, where you came from, you know, just let's start the conversation off that way.
For sure, for sure. Like I said, you know, I apprate you having me here in Harlem. I am not a native New Yorker, but I love New York. New York is my home now and will be for hopefully forever.
You know it.
But originally my family is all from Sudan, and I was born in Saudi Arabia, and my family and I, we won the lottery, right, which is a 1 in a million chance to be able to win the U.S. diversity visa, they call it the lottery.
That's right.
And to have the opportunity to move here, right? Both my parents, you know, neither one of them went to college, right? We came here trying to live the American dream, you know, so when we got here, we lived in Ohio, and I lived in Columbus, in an area that was challenging.
Shout out to Ohio. Cam used to get it in Ohio.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about, yeah. You know, Ohio is an interesting place, and coming from a place where I didn't see women's hair, right? And then coming to the United States where I saw yellow, blue, all these different colors, and my friends were like, oh, it's not yellow, it's actually blonde.
Wow.
I'm like,
you didn't know that.
I'm like, oh, all of it is new to me, right? And so watching my parents struggle and hustle so that my family and I can have what we need, that was really motivating for me, right? And so I just tried to always think about their sacrifice, try to think about what they left behind, and I tried to really just be a sponge, right, and be curious. So I came to New York City in 2016.
Okay.
I was working for a big financial services firm. I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to go to college, so I studied finance in college, and that gave me the opportunity to work in the financial services world, right? And I quickly got in there, and I was thankful for the opportunity, but realized I wanted to be in a place where I could work in businesses and see how these businesses are built and scaled and grown and what it takes to grow something real.
Okay.
And so I went to go work in the startup world and went off from there. But yeah.
So if we talk about college, like, let's start a little bit with your college years. Like, I know that college maybe gave you an idea of, you know, wanting to be in the finance world, but you know, working, like, you know, me and you were talking earlier, I'm just curious about the starting off in Taco Bell. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want the listeners to be able to understand some of the starting points of where you came from. Where did a lot of the business mindset originate from?
Yeah, like I said, right, my parents didn't have a lot of money growing up, right?
Okay.
But they always made sure that we had what we needed. And so I'm really grateful for that. But I look at just hard times, and I was trying to figure out how can I take care of myself to alleviate some of the stress and the pain that they were trying to deal with to take care of my brothers and I. And so for me, I just naturally was always a hustler, right? Like, I'd buy candy bars and turn around and sell them to my friends and people in the community, right? I would go and shovel snow and cut grass to make money to be able to take care of myself and buy, you know, do whatever I need to do for myself. But I was always curious, right? And one day,
I worked in the supermarket.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about. I packed them bags.
Yeah, right. you got to do what you got to do to take care of yourself, right? And I think that's
it was a mindset.
That's a mentality that you have to have,
mentality.
right? And I think either you are naturally someone who creates opportunity for yourself and goes and gets it, or you have to learn that, right? For me, I just was like, I know that I wanted certain things in my life, and I just wanted to learn those things, and so I went to go work at Taco Bell when I was 16 because one of my boys was working there and he was like, yo, come and work with me, you at least have a job. I was like, all right, I want to get a car. I want to drive, right? Unlike New Yorkers, right?
16, you ambitious, you want it.
Yeah, right?
Okay.
So I went to work there because it also came with a free meal. So I was like, all right, I can eat for free,
It's
and
an
I get paid.
That's right.
Right? They were paying me $7.50 an hour, which was, disrespectful, but at least I got an opportunity to see how the business actually ran.
Okay.
Right? I was working as a cashier, but I saw what the assembly line for making the food looked like. I was someone who's, and still to this day, someone who's naturally curious. So I would go and talk to the general manager about what's business looking like. How did we do today? Right? I'd get there super early in the morning for some of our shifts, and I'd see the preparation that goes into setting up the store for customers to come in.
So you wasn't just there for a check. You wasn't just trying to get money. Now,
the money wasn't enough for me to be there only for that.
Oh, so again, you opened up your mindset to seeing what was more from an opportunity that you took. Okay.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure I'm breaking that down.
For sure.
We all have the power to do that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. At the time, right, as a 16-year-old kid, I didn't have very many other options. I went to a school where people in my school were doing what they needed to do to make a buck, right? I have friends of mine that were shot and killed, and unfortunately, because of situations that they were in, that if money was not an issue, they wouldn't have been in those situations.
Which is the root to all evil.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I wanted to do something different to be able to support myself and to be able to look out for myself and to learn. And that was what I thought would be the best, right? And I came in there and I learned as quickly as I could, and they offered me an opportunity to stay and become a manager one day down the line. And I was like, I think I want to go to college, but I respect it, right? Like, there's more that I want to learn that I'm going to learn in the world beyond these doors.
That was the
but
season.
being in that business taught me a lot. So I was really grateful for that. It was, till this day, still one of my favorite jobs.
So you get all of that from there. You have this mindset. You go off to college. You learn a little bit more about it. Let's speak a little bit more on now. How do you start to apply that? Because I'm quite sure that that's something that everyone can do. We might have started off as a bank teller. You might have started off in a Wendy's or a McDonald's or a Taco Bell. And then from there, depending on if you're just doing things to just get money or you're doing things to really learn something, what was the next step now after going to college and being able to understand about business? How did you implement that in your life?
Yeah, so I was telling you, right, I went to go work for this big financial services company, and I felt like I wasn't learning the things that I cared to actually have a career in, right? I didn't have depth in spaces that I felt like mattered to me personally. Okay. Right, so I went to work for an education technology business, and it was a small company, right? They call it a startup, right? I was the 23rd employee working for this company. So I got a chance to actually help build this company. Okay. Right? I wanted to know what it was like to go and actually pitch and sell a customer. So I got to see our sales team do that. I wanted to know, how do you retain these customers? How do you make them happy? How do you give them value, show them that the money they're investing in your business to buy your product or service is worthwhile? So I got a chance to do that, right? And the customers of this company were Zillow Group, Meta, right, Facebook at the time,
That's big.
Snap, right, all these big tech companies that are making billions of dollars. I wanted to learn from them. So I got a chance now to use my job to build my life. But I always also love photography, right? Okay. So I'm a multiple time graduate of YouTube University, right? I've literally gone on YouTube and taught myself so many different things.
Hold on, he's preaching. Don't let him stop. Hold on, talk. I didn't mean to cut you off, because I didn't know this part.
I learned to become, I became a professional photographer because of the skills that I learned on YouTube, right? I literally went on YouTube and spent hours learning about how to use a DSLR, right? I learned about aperture, I learned about light, I learned about all these different things. And then one day I met a guy who became a mentor of mine who used to work in finance and left to go become a creative director. And so I told him, I was like, hey, I'm coming to New York for an internship. While I'm here, I want to work and learn from you. He's like, I can't pay you. I said, I'll work for free. So I worked for free for a while with this guy on Saturday mornings after being out Friday night with my friends to forget about the week at work when I was working in finance, because I just needed to decompress. Okay. So I'd get up in the morning on Saturday mornings, go and sit with this guy and see how he built his own business, right? I saw how he told the story of different businesses, and over time, I learned to take that same skill set And then I became a professional photographer, and me and him, we shot commercials together.
Wow.
We shot stock photography together. We've done portraits together. We've done a lot of different things. Some of our work has been on Good Morning America, right? And so a friend of mine.
And this is from working for somebody for free. I just want to make sure that
For free.
you on Good Morning America
For
with
free.
commercials.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
You know what I'm saying? Eventually he paid me, right? I give him a lot of credit, but it took me having a desire to learn about storytelling, to go and want to do what I was doing with him for free, but to also invest in my own skill set and say, this is what I can do, right? I picked up a camera, I learned how to do X, Y, and Z. Here's the quality of my work. I did a couple things for you. Here's the value already for you. And he took a chance on me and said, okay, I'll bring you to these places that people don't get access to, that I got access to. I'll share it with you.
Hard work, recognize hard work.
Yeah, so he invested in me too.
Okay.
And that allowed me to then have another skill set underneath my umbrella. So now I'm working at this startup.
Business, photography.
Now I'm doing the creative stuff, right? And one of my best friends, Harrison, hit me up. Harrison Sanford is from here out here in Long Island. He hits me up. He's like, hey, I have an idea to start this podcast with this guy. How do you feel about helping me out? I was like, yeah, sure. I was like, talk to me about what you're trying to do. He's like, oh, well, I kind of want to do this podcast and maybe go sell it to a network and use it as a way to kind of get myself back into the TV world and this and that. I said, well, what if we did it this way? He's like, I like that. I was like, all right. He's like, I can't pay you, but let's build it together. I was like, okay. I was like, we'll eat what we kill, right? So he and I built this podcast. Turns out the co-host of the show is this guy that is also from Long Island that played in the NBA, right? Danny Green, which is how you and I met.
Shout out to my man Danny Green, 3-time NBA champion. He was on Streets First podcast. Go ahead.
Exactly.
That's my guy. We grew up together.
That's how Butta and I met.
You know what I'm saying?
Right?
Yeah. Wow. I didn't know this is how the story went.
This is how the
I'm
story
loving
went.
this. Wow.
Right? So from there, me, Danny, and Harrison, not only did we have an opportunity to become brothers and build something together, but we now had an opportunity to help each other elevate in different parts of our worlds, right? Danny at the time had been, I think, 10 years into the league, right? And so he kind of knew he needed to start positioning himself for what he was going to do next.
Life after basketball.
Life after basketball,
Okay.
right? So Harrison was the one that pitched the entire idea for where we were going to go. So we took this audio-only podcast and turned it into a YouTube show. We started to do live events. We started to sell advertising, sponsorship. And as we're doing all these things, I said, we should build a company around it. And so we did. And then we turned it into a true TV show, right? We started to get invited to speak at events. We started to get Dove Men Plus Care, right? Jack in the Box, Theragun, these big sponsors paying us big checks, right? For us to basically put together content and put their branding on it. I went and I was so deep in the space that I was like, okay, I need to learn from the best. I was DMing Gary Vee, right?
I know Gary
At
Vee.
the time, I'm like,
Inspirational quotes.
yeah, right, yeah, exactly. Now I'm 31. At the time, I was like 24.
Okay.
I'm DMing Gary every day, trying to get Gary to respond to me. He didn't respond, obviously. But fast forward, Gary Vee put out this thing that I found doing research on YouTube called the Gary Vee content model, where he talks about how you take long form content and you snip it into medium, short, and very tiny clips, right? There's a company called Jubilee on YouTube that tells really great stories too.
Okay.
So I figured out how to take all this content and snip it up, and through $0 in marketing, we grew our social media presence, right? We ended up getting these big time sponsors. We ended up starting to do business with people that we never thought we'd be able to do. And then that set me up for everything that came after that.
I don't want to stop this conversation, man. But I hope my production team is listening to this, because y'all doing something wrong. But go ahead, my bad. I'm just saying that this man telling me that this is all that he's doing with his time and what he figured out from photography, my production team got some work to do. This is why I'm bringing this type of information in here, all right? Because if he done figured this out and got a Dove and all of them, you guys got a lot of access to all of this knowledge from all these different people I've been interviewing. You shortchanging me, baby. But go ahead. I'm getting back to the conversation. Go ahead.
You don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah, this is
the issue.
Thank you.
That's the issue, right? I think, when you look at some people that are ultra successful and you really look at their backgrounds, there's a lot of people who were fortunate that their parents were doctors and lawyers and engineers or in media or whatever,
Fact.
right? And so they were already starting ahead of the game. And so their access to knowledge and information was different than ours.
That's true.
Right? So
I like
you
that.
have to want to be someone who can set aside where you come from and what you already think you know, and be humble and say, I'm coming to you to want to learn. I'm coming to you because I'm curious about things. I'm coming to you because I don't know, right? But here's what I do know, and here's how I can help, here's how I can add value. And you have to also sometimes be able to say, I'm willing to do this shit for free, right? So I think from that, and then being able to position yourself with the right people around you, that's how you can ultimately be successful. I'm an expert when it comes to people. I'm an expert when it comes to business infrastructure, as well as now go-to-market, they call it, right? But there's a lot of things I still don't know.
That's true.
But how I make myself successful is positioning myself with people around me that have the knowledge that I'm lacking.
So that's one of the questions that I want to ask you, like, for the people. Capitalism. So because you're trying to understand how to maneuver in a society or a world of capitalism, there's also what comes with capitalism is oppression. Someone got to win, someone got to lose. How, and I'm quite sure I'm listening to it, but I would love for you to break it down a little more for the listeners. How do you decipher that to simplify it to where it's beneficial to the people off of what you're giving to the people versus, you know, knowing that you can capitalize off of things that the people are still getting something to empower them?
You know, I think you can try to fight systems that are in place, or you can try to learn how to be an active participant in the system, right? For me, you know, my family and I were from a third world country. My family survives on $100 to $250 a week in where they live. Now, to this day, they still live there, right? It's a different world.
Sudan,
right?
I get what you're saying.
Right? And I think if you look at people who are oppressed, right, in Palestine, people who are oppressed in Gaza, right, but people who are oppressed in Sudan and places like that, they have only one option. Do I lay down and take it? Or do I stand up and try to fight for myself and try to better my life and try to do everything I possibly can, right? There's a guy named Mo who came out with a show. It's called Mo on Netflix, right? He talks about how, you know, there's this person in Gaza who was taking olives from the trees and bottling up the oil and selling the oil, right? Imagine having a bomb drop in your backyard, but you're still going the next morning and you're picking olives from these trees and you're bottling your own oil because you know you have to survive.
It's bigger than what happens.
It's bigger than what's happening in the system.
I see what you're saying.
Right? And so I think in America, the system's also written to benefit people that are entrepreneurs. Whether we like it or not, capitalism is everywhere and it's not going anywhere.
That's true.
Right?
That's
when
true.
you are an entrepreneur, right, if you're building a business, I think a lot of people get afraid to go and start and build something because they think about, I need to have a business plan, I need to have this, and all these things that feel overwhelming. But it's simple. You find a problem, you have to have enough passion to want to solve that problem, and you just go execute, right? There's execution and there's ideas. I think a lot of people spend so much time trying to put the blueprint together in the idea phase that they never execute.
The doing part.
The doing part is what actually matters, right? I've met a bunch of people that are like, oh, I had an idea just like Uber. I'm like, yeah, and what did you do? Oh, nothing.
So you could be a visionary, you could be a dreamer, but you also need to be a doer.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are really good at starting things and never finishing them. Starting things is your superpower, right? It's an ability to be able to start something, even if you don't see it all the way through. But what a smart person who can start things does, realizes that about themselves and says, okay, I got this thing started. How do I now find the right people to help me keep it moving and get it all the way further, right? How do I find someone who's the in-between person, the operations people, right? The brains that can build a skeleton. How do I then find someone who can finish, who can close, who can execute all the way to the end and then repeat the cycle?
So we're stronger together. You can't do it by yourself.
You can't,
if I'm listening correct.
It's impossible. It's impossible.
So even though you are a person that can come up with ideas and be a part of something to start something, you also need other people to help you build it out and follow it through. So here's my question for that, for the entrepreneurs. How do you get everyone sometimes to be on the same page when that all falls under the word, to me, as team? I come from basketball, so I kind of like have an understanding of that.
Yep.
I also know that falls in line with leadership. So you know, as a person that I know is successful in understanding how to do that, how do you help the other entrepreneur understand how to create and build a team and also follow through with leadership?
Seeing is believing, right? So if you can show people what you've already done, right? I run a venture fund, right? Me and Danny together in our team, right? A lot of people come to us and ask for money to help them scale and grow their businesses. The most compelling, we've invested in 30 companies, right?
Okay.
A few million dollars that we raised, right? The people that we've invested in are people that have already demonstrated to us their ability to solve a problem, their ability to get things done, their ability to figure things out, their ability to go get customers, their ability to show me you can make $1.
Is that called proof of concept?
Proof of concept.
Okay, I just
There
want
you
to make
go.
sure to simplify.
There you go.
ahead.
Yeah,
Proof of concept.
Yeah, keep telling.
Okay.
And so I think, you know, if you're trying to convince other people and mobilize other people, right, you got to be in there and you got to show them and you got to teach them. You got to be
work. Do the work.
But
Okay.
you can't mobilize people that don't want to learn. You can't. What do they say? You can't, you know, take a horse to water and force it to drink. Right? You have
So
to.
even though I want to take him to the sea and make sure that I'm teaching him how to fish so that he can eat forever, I still got to understand that I can't make a person.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure.
All you can do.
I don't know if anyone else is learning from this, but I'm listening. But go ahead.
All you can do is get to where you're going, and as you're going there, make sure that the steps you take leave a footprint behind you so that people know, okay, Butta went that way.
So that's
Right?
also controlling
Yeah.
what you can
Yeah,
control.
you got to take
Okay.
care of you first.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
I used to always wonder to myself when I was in planes. I fly a lot, right? And when I'm in planes, I was like, oh, why did they say put your own mask on first? If I'm sitting next to my mom or my baby or whatever, in my mind, I used to think I got to take care of them first, right? I just was raised that way, right? But I learned if you don't take care of yourself, if you don't put on your own oxygen mask, you're not going to be any good to the people around you, right? You're now going to be holding them back too, because now maybe they have to worry about you. So if I'm you make those footprints in the sand until you get to the water. You get there, you figure out, okay, this part of the water actually is where the most fish are. I set up the right rod. You know what? I got my fish. I cooked my fish. I ate my meal. I'm gonna sit, smoke my cigar, and chill. If anybody comes, through this path that I paved, I'll teach them whatever I learned. And it's up to you then to go figure out what to do from there.
So inside the green room, because that is the podcast, can you give them an idea of like what the podcast is about? Like, what were your plans to being able to help people through the podcast? Because again, I like speaking to people that have plans and is following through with their plans, that is continuing to show legacy to teach others that you have the power to do that too. There's a lot of us that do things that might fall short or they might stop. I like to be big on continuing to show people that kept going.
Yeah. You know, when we started Inside the Green Room, again, it was Harrison's brilliant idea to bring together his people, right? So he assembled his own team right there, me, him, and Danny. And I had never done a podcast before, right? So I was like, I haven't done it before, but we can figure it out, right? So again, what did I do? I went to YouTube. And I learned the software on YouTube. I learned the distribution platforms on YouTube. I learned all these things, and he and I, we would just figure out where are the things that matter, right? I know basketball well, but Harrison is a basketball savant.
Okay.
It wasn't gonna be beneficial for me to sit here and craft the content strategy around the conversation around basketball, which is what the podcast is about primarily. It was gonna be better use of his time, right?
Okay.
In our lives, we're conditioned and we're taught to think about how we can be well-rounded. But I think it's important to know what your weaknesses are. But Steph Curry didn't become the best three-point shooter in history because he was also trying to figure out how to dunk the ball and maybe play, immaculate defense. He became the best three-point shooter in history because he figured out, okay, I adjusted my shot. Now, effort times time, right? Times my energy. Now I'm able to accelerate much faster at this thing that I'm really already good at. So when you take the time to have some inventory about yourself and assess what you're already good at, and you spend time getting better at that, you now become part of the 1%, right? NBA players are the 1% because they have, obviously there's a lot of luck and preparation opportunity, but a lot of them, like Danny is what's considered a 3-and-D guy, right? Which means he plays excellent defense and he shoots three-pointers really well,
Yes.
right? If Danny was trying to dunk the ball and do all these other things, he wouldn't have been exceptional at the thing that he does.
That's true.
Right? So that was the plan for Inside the Green Room was to shoot a pilot season, 8 episodes of content, turn around, find a network, and sell it. But we struck fire on day 1. So I told Harrison, I was like, I think we should just keep going. I think we should just put the episodes out and see what happens. Episode 2, also viral. Episode 3, also viral, right? And I had been creating, right? So I started to build a following on Instagram and my other platforms, but I got to a point where I had to turn off all my notifications because my phone was just blowing up nonstop. It was getting out of hand. So I was like, this is how I know we hit gold, right? We hit oil, let's keep going. Somebody reached out to us about an opportunity to do an event, a live event in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Have you ever heard of that?
Nova Scotia?
In Canada. It's like the furthest east you could go in Canada. It's literally a fishing town, right? They said to us, hey, we'll pay for some expenses, whatever, you guys want to do this live? Danny had just gotten traded, him and Kawhi Leonard, from the Spurs to Toronto to play for the Raptors. So we were like, what better way to introduce ourselves to the Canadian market than to do a show live in person? And from there, once we understood the mechanics of how to do it, now we started to sell tickets, we started to sell advertising, we started to sell sponsorship, we started to have sponsors come and do on-site activations. And instead of trying to go sell our vision to a network like we started thinking we would do, we just did it. We're on season 8 of our show now, more than 300 episodes recorded, right?
So nice.
You know what I'm saying? And it's brought up so many other opportunities for us. Now Danny's on ESPN every other day, on TNT every other day. Harrison's on ESPN radio. What I wanted out of it for myself was I wanted to be a business leader. I wanted to have the acumen. I wanted people to respect me for being able to build and scale something. I wanted people to look at me and say, that guy knows how to sell and he knows how to market and he knows how to build the right teams. And then along the way, we found other people that were trying to build their social media presence as photographers, as creators, as event operators or whatever. And we bet on them too. And we worked together with them and we all ate. Right? I believe in paying people their value and their dollars for the work that they produce. So we put as much money as I put in my own pocket, we put in other people's pockets too. Right? Everybody's got their own family, their own situation, and everybody deserves to eat. And so I believe in paying people what they're worth. So we've always paid people.
You're in the right place, because here in Harlem, everybody eats, B.
as we should.
You know what I'm saying?
My success, that shouldn't deter you from going out and trying to do something for yourself. There's enough in this world for all of us to eat.
That's right.
Right? And we should be thinking about how can we build a table with enough plates so that we can all eat and then feed everybody else who didn't have an opportunity.
So, looking back at, you being with Inside Green Room and now understanding where you have tried to put yourself in position, I mean, for me, Amjed, it's like, what's next? Like, what's next for you? I know that you have a lot of visions, a lot of dreams yourself, What spaces and markets are you trying to touch? And I'm only asking you this because I get a chance to be able to let my followers know that there are people that I'm connected to that can bring financing, that can bring a lot of things to the table to help them. But again, I also wanted to let them know that they have to be putting in that work. You know what I'm saying? So again, proof of concept, there is an access to some type of resource to be able to be there to help you and back you up. But for me to ask you, like, what's your visions and dreams? What are some of the things that you're trying to do?
I used to hate the question, where do you want to be in 5 years?
Okay.
Because it assumes that we know exactly what's going to happen. If you would have asked me in the beginning of 2020, and then you see the pandemic happen right in front of us, it derailed a lot of people's plans, right? And so for me, my goal in my life is to be able to spend as much time with my family as possible, and to trade as little time for money, right? And so that's my personal goal. I want
freedom.
Yeah.
I'll make sure I say it in a simpler term.
Exactly.
Freedom.
Exactly, right? I want to be able to wake up and choose to spend time with my wife and my kids and my family. I want to be able to wake up and choose to be in my neighborhood with my people and do things for other people. I want that, right? And so what I've done is I've tried to kind of architect my life backwards, right? In the business world, one of my goals is to get to a point where I buy and sell companies, right? So I tried to think, okay, if I want to be able to buy and sell companies, what do I need to have done before that? Right before that. Right before that, I needed to have either run a business or invested in businesses and exited from those businesses or have advised those businesses. What do I need to have done right before that? I needed to be involved in the venture space in some way because that complements my ability to understand these businesses, to assess the risk with these businesses, and to think about who should be involved and how I can bring other people along the way.
You're not just doing it, you've
I'm working backwards to get to today, right? So right now, we have the venture fund. I work for LinkedIn, right? So I get a chance to see the go-to-market strategy for some of the best businesses in the world, and I'm seeing how they do what they do, and I'm able to advise based on the number of other customers. So now everything kind of feeds itself in terms of my knowledge, right? I work for a company that goes and supports these businesses, right, and their objectives. I have a company that we invest in these companies, and they come to me for advice, and we talk about how they should grow. Right? And then we have our podcast where we get even more professional athletes and celebrities, entertainers, whatever, to come and talk to us. So I'm building those relationships. And so when more men and women come to me and ask me, hey, I'm trying to buy this company, what do you think about this?
So you got 4 or 5 different places.
Everything feeds itself.
Okay.
Right?
Ooh,
There's
like
a guy
that.
that I like. His name is Paul Brunson.
Okay.
Paul's like an expert dating coach, but Paul is Jamaican, and he says, He's like, people laugh at me because when they hear about what I do, they're like, you're so typically Jamaican. You have 10 jobs. He's like, but let me break it down for you, right? And I never forgot what he said. He said, because I've spent time studying relationships, I started to write about relationships. Because I spent time studying and writing about relationships, I started to get invited to talk about the things that I wrote about. Because I did all these things, people started to ask me for coaching. So I started to do coaching. Because I started doing coaching, people wanted me to host conferences and summits so that they can do it at scale. So now everything complements the things that are part of his skill set, and he's making money from all of them, right? And so if one of them fails or falls apart, it's okay. I still have the other 9 things, 8 things that I'm doing if one of the 10 fell apart.
Such a great way to show how a seed can bloom.
Yeah, but it takes you thinking about your own life in a business sort of way to be able to say, to have that structure and knowledge to say, I want to be able to do X, so I need to do this first.
So if I'm hearing it right, through a lot of phases of our lives, we should be learning structure from it. If I'm hearing it correctly, there's a lot that you can learn from your ups and downs to be able to add on to where you're trying to go if you're truly willing to put in the work.
Yeah, you have to own your own structure, right? Because think about life, right? When you're a kid,
own your own structure.
You have to. When you're a kid, the structure is built for you. You do elementary school. You know exactly how many years that is. You do middle school. You know exactly how many years that is. You do high school, same thing. If you decide to go to college, same thing. 4 years, I graduate, boom, I'm done. Then suddenly you're in the world by yourself. What are you supposed to do after? Nobody tells you what you're supposed to do after. It's up to you to say, okay, my personal structure and my goals are this. Maybe I want to buy a house. Maybe I want to get married. Maybe I want to learn about a specific space and maybe write about that space. What do you want from that outcome? You have to be the one to build that structure for yourself.
Be the author of your own book.
Yeah, it doesn't exist, right? You got to do it for yourself.
Ooh, I like that, man. As y'all can hear, you know what I mean? I wanted to make sure that I brought in somebody that you can see that we all have the same lives, meaning you didn't have to be born in Sudan. You could be born right here, but what I am hearing is you don't have to allow poverty to keep you in a poverty mindset. And I want to keep being a person that can bring resources and people in that can shine a light on that, not just speaking about it, but living it. That is the American dream, you know what I'm saying? So I thank you, you know what I'm saying?
And I thank you, right? It takes people like you who, you're a street ball legend in New York City. Everybody knows Butta, right? But it takes you wanting to give back and give people access to opportunity and information and to put people in positions to win right? It's dope to have
Facts.
Dave East as a close friend. It's dope to be able to, you know, walk down the street and say hi to Jim Jones or whatever, right? It's dope to know professional athletes and celebrities, entertainers, whatever. I know billionaires, right?
Facts.
That's cool. But what's more important is what impact are you able to have on people, right? How can you help somebody in their own life, in their own path? That to me is more important. That to me is more meaningful, and you're doing that.
That matters.
Yeah.
You already know. And guess what? I now get to do it together
Hey,
because I
amen to
have
that.
people like you on my team.
Amen
A
to
phone
that.
call away. You
already
heard?
know.
It's your boy Butta. We outside at the T.O.'s, man. Let them know where they can follow you at, man.
Just my name, Amjed Osman.
Amjed
You
Osman.
can follow me on LinkedIn. Butter's gonna have his own LinkedIn
That's
page
right.
here soon
He
too.
educated me on that.
Instagram, all the above. Yes, sir.
Hey, keep up, y'all. I'm making sure that I bring people in that's gonna educate you and teach you financial literacy in a different way. And again, that's through storytelling, having a conversation, and for you to really be able to hear people's authentic story. You know what I mean? To be able to hear how we can become better. We can follow our own dreams. We have the power to be who we want to be.
Amen.
It's your boy Butta. I'm outside.
Streets.
Yeah, this one's for the streets first. Stripes like a referee shirt. This one's for the streets first. Tell mama this the rebirth. Say I need church. I talk dirty. Put my hands and my feet work. Teamwork. Put in pain, but gotta bring it to the streets first though.